that's where, at the end of the day, that's over 500 citizens of Mountain Home that work there. And
well, we're certainly not going to interrupt their employment. They may pay $10,000 or $15,000 a day as a toll, and they may want to come back to you to say, listen, what in the heck have you done? We don't want to do that.
Mr. Mayor, I'd recommend that we address the land use application on its merits. These are tangential issues that are sideline issues. I don't take kindly to dropping bombs and all that other stuff. I think the merits of the application can be addressed, which I'm sure Terran is licking his chops to try to present.
That's all we want, Mr. Fitzer, is
you need
give
to
Terran a
stop
chance.
interrupting. Okay. That will piss me off very quickly. I think we trust the merits of the application itself and hear out the presentation of the application.
Terran, show's yours.
All right, well, I may skip through quite a bit of this and go fairly quickly to address questions. Councilwoman Garvey, I do know the predicament of the sewer system, so before I jump into it, I do. I went out there, I don't know what's shared. Again, not the most transparent government we have, not an exemplar in the country. Should be. I know that there are many that are working hard for that. I don't know if everybody knew that there are a few of us that went with Chris. He very kindly took us to the sewer lagoons. He shared with us, now, words matter, meanings matter. We're not at capacity. I don't see any indication that's a bomb, it's a hand grenade thrown to us to get us to pay for things that we shouldn't have to. So if the system was set up correctly and was managed correctly, and I'm not pointing the finger at this body or any member of the city staff, if it was managed correctly, the conversation would never come up. It would be, there simply isn't capacity right now. We have nothing to do. We can't help you. That's not the discussion that has been had for the last 4 years. Okay, so I'll say that. So I'm going to skip through most of this. This talks about city limits, talks about land use planning and things. This information was shared. I will note that when it comes up, that originally it was slated, the land in question was slated as residential. That converted to an industrial campus. This would be post discussions between Mr. Wheats and Mayor Sykes. And as part of that, which wasn't accounted for in the comprehensive plan, was that as part of the annexation agreement, a buffer would be required. Okay, so that's how we got to, what is a buffer? And it's just a difference between an light industrial use and something that's less intense, that's more intensive than single-family residential, but less intensive than light industrial is being proposed further on. So this is taken from the annexation agreement. I have stumbled upon more documents than I ever cared to read about the development of this land. So we have Railroad Industrial Park. This one came from the city website. Would have been September 23rd. We have our buffer as part of that agreement, or excuse me, as part of that document on the city website. Okay. Also from the city website, this would be a concept plan as to what might be as we develop the industrial campus, which is what we want to do and would like to do. In this case, we see that in a preliminary, we don't have any way to get out of the city except through bypass. So we have really the development and the construction of miles of roadways. We're about, what, 3/4 of a mile, half a mile, roughly. What we have is nearly $1 million for that thing. So millions and millions and millions of dollars with no return on investment yet. So we were strategizing, how do we get a return on investment to pay for roads so we could develop the industrial campus, knowing that monies were tight with the city. So these are other iterations with proposed truck routes. I believe this is also from the website, from the city's website. You do see roadways extending up. In this case, they were going to come straight over. I don't believe that's a possibility. This was taken from the purchase of sale from a parcel located really on a prime piece of land. It was intended to be a tap house and a brewery. Through means that I believe all of you are aware, it's no longer going to be a tap house and a brewery, but it's intended to be something else, something that's not fitting for an industrial campus in that prime piece of property, of real estate. So we did take exception to that. You will notice, however, we do have a residential component as a buffer that was included as that purchase and sale. And this document was prepared by the city, by city staff. Okay? Our good friend from Keller will probably recognize this. This was sent to me to, I'm not going to say delay us in our planning and zoning, but was brought to my attention during planning and zoning about EDUs, what we have available, and or what are anticipated for the various regions of Mountain Home. The reason why this is important is because I happen to know what this one is.
What can you point at?
Can you see the grade?
Oh, there it is, yep.
This one.
Yep.
So, as I was trying, no information was provided to me as to what it meant. And very dangerous thing to assume, to make assumptions. So as I was trying to interpret what this information meant, I believe that these are anticipated and or EDUs that are proposed or already spoken for. Okay. As part of that information, what was provided to us were locations that were problematic. So areas of concern. Now, I'll point to these. This is West at North Street. I believe this is due to the size of the line. If I'm not mistaken, Chris, I'm not putting you on the spot, I believe it's an 8-inch line. 8-inch line is pretty small for development. Well, we've already proposed as part of the PUD to run a, I believe, it's either a 14-inch line or an 18-inch line, sewer line, down Helen's Way, so that we're not dumping effluent into the areas that are problematic for the city. Again, we tried to address the concerns that have been brought to our attention. Okay, so this shows some early iterations of a buffer, how we might resolve concerns about transportation and how we grow the industrial campus, knowing that we need to have some kind of arterial, a major arterial to get in and out of the city, excuse me, as quickly as possible. All right, pictures of the site. This was taken a little earlier when the fields were green. They're not green anymore. This is a problematic intersection that we have. Everybody knows about this one, where the trucks have to pull into oncoming traffic in order to make the turn. And that is one of the reasons why the traffic circle looks a little askew as opposed to being in the center. And that was to resolve problems with Idaho Power and poles and other known existing challenges. Okay. All right. So I believe that everybody has seen this at one time or another. The relevant part is that we are, in fact, asking permission to use the land to develop 864 2-, 3-, and 4-bedroom apartments in buildings that are configured in 2 and 3 stories. They address, now I'm going to forget, the breakdown was provided to us by the military base as to what they needed. So most of them, majority of them, I want to say it is 60% will be 2-bedroom, 30% will be 3-bedroom, and 10% will be 4-bedroom. Does that sound right, Kelly? So as part of this, we are asking for permission for 864, so we don't have to come before this body again asking for permission. However, it was brought to our attention, and of course we had planned to do this in the first place, that 864 units would be virtually impossible to build at one time anyway, even in the best of circumstances. Construction, I mean, it's $160, $170 million. As far as I know, the bank is not willing to lend us that much money at one time. So we would like to break this up into phases. The first phase, and the one that I would like to concentrate on as part of this presentation, is located right here, with yellow, and consists of 72 units. They're 2 3-story, 36-unit apartments, apartment buildings, along with a community center and all of the infrastructure for the entire parcel. This would include this portions of Helen's Way. So Dan and I, and probably Kelly, are going to build the connecting point for water and sewer over onto North Haskett. Again, so that we do not connect into West at North Street. The layout is shown, obviously, because we are asking for permission to do so. We do not plan to build all of it at one time. It will be phased in 5 or 6 phases, and it will be contingent upon there being capacity. Now, we do have plans, other plans to address water and sewer. If there are questions, we'd love to talk about that. I won't bore you with the details. Again, I believe everybody has probably heard this spiel a couple times. So I will advance. I may add that we do have, and we have been in discussions, pretty extensive discussions, with a charter school that is very interested in Mountain Home. The reason for the charter school is, I will say, I'll speak for myself and my family. We're very big proponents of school choice. Parents should be able to determine where their kids go to school. It should not be the decision of the government, shouldn't be the decision of the school district, and it shouldn't matter where you live. If you live in a poorer area of town, you should be able to have access to the best schools. I think the best way to do that is through school choice. These are public charter schools, meaning they are available to everybody here in Mountain Home and the surrounding county. So we're in discussions with them. We're also in discussions about having a family activity center or rec center. It will not have a pool. We did not want to compete with the city's pool that's ongoing right now, that's under construction, and the county rec pool. We don't want to compete with them either. So this will have many other amenities. These, of course, will be contingent upon there being development in the industrial campus. If we don't have people, there would be no need for the charter school. So, and it would be very, very cost prohibitive for the charter school to run utilities and infrastructure to that building in that location. Okay, so I'll skip ahead. You've seen this a few times. I'll skip ahead. Okay, so what would they look like? This is a project that I completed shortly before moving here to Mount Home. I think it would blend in very well and would be a valuable architectural contribution to our community. It would not be called artistry, but rather Bennett Ranch Station. We will not have a pool. I show this one in that we do have examples of buildings in relatively close proximity that make very good community gathering places, like a plaza. Okay, the floor plans this would be a 36-unit, 3-story plan. These are the types of finishes that we will have for the interiors of the units. So we'll skip through these pretty quickly. We do have indoor and outdoor spaces as part of the plan. Community building. We do think it's important to have a building. The entire development, should it be approved, will have 3 of them, and each one will have different amenities, so the community buildings will be different from each other. amenities that they provide. Okay, and try to be respectful of time, so would love to answer any questions if there are any.
So Terry, do you have the Helms Way coming out on Haskett?
Yes.
Sawmill.
Sawmill at North Haskett.
But-
Yes.
And that's a right turn only?
Well, I haven't designed it as a right turn only, but it could be.
No, I think since, wasn't the village right turn only?
Is you can't come off Basket, turn left onto towards like Tucker John's.
And it's not, I guess I'll say this, I've seen people turn left even with a big sign right there. So what's your remediation to make sure that they don't turn left there? You know what I mean?
Right here?
Yeah.
So the remediation would be that, for one, believe in obeying traffic laws. We don't have any plans, I don't know if it would be within our purview, to add delineator posts or anything of the sort. However, should the city determine that that would be a valuable asset to the city streets, of course, we can help with that. However, we will have two connecting streets onto West 5th North, of which, so the access point for the first phase would be out, out, or of course you could go out, out, and out, or you could go this way and go straight. So our traffic impact study, apologize, it's been a while, a few years since I've looked at it really thoroughly, but the plan is to keep people and traffic off of the Ackley crossing. I attended the village meetings and heard the discussion, and we're in agreement. We don't think that that can really handle a lot of traffic, and so the remedy would be initially for 72 units to come out and down Elmcrest and to go down, Jerome doesn't go all the way through, but Bradford does, but the main thoroughfare would be North Haskett.
Councilman Brand, of which Haskett Airbase is already identified as our biggest failed intersection.
Councilman Wolfman?
So I just want to make note, I did do my homework, and in the planning and zoning packet that was submitted on July 10th by Keller and Associates, I have to go by experts and what they say. And when I read this, it says, this large development is not recommended as the lagoon system does not have adequate winter storage. So I believe infrastructure must be in place before approving any new builds.
I believe that letter also states it assumes that all 864 units are constructed.
What you're asking for approval.
Correct. So, and that would be 5, 6, maybe 10 years down the road for all 864.
That's
So we know that,
an estimate.
correct, and winter capacity, we had a wet winter, and so the response, I don't want this to seem adversarial, it's not my character to be that way. So the response would be, we're asking for permission to construct 72 units. That's well within capacity, the 2,500, 2,200 EUs that we have available. I believe that accounts for both water and sewer. And so we would request a similar consideration that has been given to all other developments up to this point. And that is, if there is not capacity, we don't build. That was included in the development agreement. Hopefully you read that as well. That was language that I added per planning and zoning. And states that we will come together, not as a decision-making body, but rather administrative with the city staff and public works, and to say, all right, Mr. Curtis, how many EDUs do we have available at this time? We know that there will be 2 new cells provided, or a cell and a half, to the sewer lagoons. I know that the city has been great in trying to get grant money. And more importantly, we have now an established tax base. Cities are supposed to operate off of tax revenue. simply grant money.
Councilwoman Clark?
Paul, can you please explain the phases that he's talking about? So the 864 is what we're approving or not, and he's saying, well, there's an agreement within phases. So if there's not capacity after phase 1, then they won't build on to phase 2. But that gets kind of weird in my mind because we're approving 864. So can you explain that? Potentially approving 864.
I guess I don't know what, I don't know as well as Brenda and Chris do about what is or isn't the number of units. I can say that if you grant, that's the whole point, is if you grant a land use application that allows for 864 EDUs, you're agreeing to provide 864 EDUs at some time. The reason why you break it down into phases, and usually, okay, I'm not talking about this application, I'm talking about in general, whether it's City of Boise or something, is when you break it down into phases, it's perfectly well known that the Public Works may not be able to provide service at that time to it, and there's a cooperation between the developer of, something that's that large. The last one that comes to my mind that I worked on in the City of Boise was Harris Ranch, which was huge, and the City of Boise didn't have the capacity to be able to process it upon its full build-out. But the developer, it was the Wardles, at the time, they worked with the city and they helped pay for the new sewer facilities that would be able to process it eventually upon build-out.
Let's see, Brennan? No.
I'm not sure who addressed the question to, but in reading the findings of facts for P&Z, there seems to be some authority of the city council taken away with the statement in there that P&Z now has the right to grant extensions rather than them coming back before city council. How did that work its way in there, and what's...
No, what had happened is I had made a change to verbiage to say that it would go to city council for decision. Brenda flagged it and said it needs to go through planning and zoning first, then to city council. So
It's not how it's written. In there, I don't know if anybody can help me. It specifically says that planning and zoning is granted the authority